Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are in the world today. Welcome to our webinar and online chat. This is regarding the Tier 4 online application. My name is Peter Scott. I'm one of the International Student Support Officers at Edinburgh Napier University. Now, just so you know, some housekeeping for you, this webinar will have sound for the presentation, which obviously you must realise already. Plug in your headphones if you haven't done so. Test them to make sure you can hear. And you won't need a webcam or a microphone. If you do have any questions during this presentation, we do have a question and answers chat pod. One of our team will be on hand to reply to you. You can ask a question any time, but just keep in mind we will have a full question and answer session at the end of this presentation. We will respond to the questions if you do ask anything. And if you have a personal question, you can contact one of us directly by right-clicking on one of our names. So this guide is best used alongside the most recent version of the Home Office Tier 4 General Policy Guidance. You should get that when you're clicking on to start your application. And this is purely a guide, and obviously depending on your answers, you may see different questions coming up. So we're just going to go through the general questions and we won't go into any sub-questions too much. It can depend on your nationality. So throughout the application you will have the option to review and change any answers. Whenever you see a green Save and Continue button, make sure you click on that. Our details are just here, the contact details, but as I said, at the end of the session we will have contact details coming up. So, if you're coming to the UK to study with Edinburgh Napier University, chances are you will be applying for a Tier 4 General Student Visa. There are other options such as short-term student visa, Tier 4 Child, and visas for Chevening, Marshall and Commonwealth scholars, but this purely is for the Tier 4 General Student Visa, and that's for students who are coming for 6 months or longer. So the first thing you're doing is clicking Tier 4 General Student, because then that obviously takes you into the right section of the application form. After that there will be your location, so that's your country. Please note you won't normally be permitted to apply from a country where you're not ordinary resident or where you hold immigration permission as a visitor only. So if you are in another country other than your own, you may not be able to do an application from there, so do click on your country of choice. After you've done that, you will be asked to confirm if you can attend an appointment at one of the visa centres listed in your country. Select if you can, so I can go to an appointment, and then next. So this form, it will say this is to be used for outside the UK. You cannot add family members to this application. You would have to complete a separate form for dependents. This guide is not about dependents, but if you do have questions about dependents, you may contact Visa and International Support. So make sure you read all the information before clicking Apply Now. And do bear in mind, if you're inactive for 25 minutes, you will be automatically logged out, but the application will save what you've inputted already. When you register, you need to use an email address, but it's one that's readily accessible by yourself, one that you'll maybe click into on a daily basis. It might be a Hotmail, Gmail, etc. Any links will be sent to that email, so if you come out of the application, a link will be sent to this email address. Create a password that you're going to remember, because obviously you will need that to access your application if you have to come out and go back in. When asked for your name, you have to put that in as it's shown in your passport. Okay? Make sure that information is entered accurately. At the start of the application, they will ask for your confirmation of acceptance for studies number. Obviously you should only be doing this application form once you have that. You can start the application before you have this, but it might not allow you to continue without that. So the confirmation of acceptance of studies, that will be emailed to you from our admissions department. It would be a good idea to actually copy and paste this from any correspondence you've received from us, just to make sure you don't make any mistakes. There are quite a few numbers and letters. You might mix up a 0 with an O, so it might be an idea just to copy and paste into the application form, and that avoids any errors that you've made. You cannot submit your Tier 4 visa application without a valid CAS number. So this section will be just asking about your home address, which is in your home country. Provide details as applicable, as well as your phone numbers. The phone number should be one that you can be contacted at any time, possibly a mobile phone number, because the Home Office might contact you by telephone for additional information. If they cannot get in touch with you, that could cause some issues with your application. Remember as well, the Home Office will never demand payment over the phone, so do not give this information if you do get a phone call asking for payment. Now we will ask you how long you've lived at your home address, so it may be all your life, so just enter the information as required. Now it's usually just month and year, so don't worry about the day. And then obviously they talk about your ownership status, so it might be that you live with your family, you might own it yourself, but answer the question as applicable. Gender and relationship, it's just basically whether you're male or female, so enter the information as required. And then nationality, date and country of birth. Again, this is very obvious information, but this information must match your passport and your CAS. Okay? If you have a nickname, don't obviously put that in. It has to be matching the passport and the CAS, especially the date of birth as well. Again, if you were to use an American format for date of birth, you wouldn't be putting that in, but it should be understandable because it does say day, month, year anyway. Country of birth, that's obvious, as is place of birth, and again that should be as it is on your passport. And then we come to the passport details. Again, just information, put this information exactly as it is in your own passport. The CAS should have those details too. It also asks if you've got another passport or travel document, so do put any information in there, including expired ones which you have used which contain travel visas. Or ones that have been issued for another nationality or in a different name. It may be that you've had you've got your married name now, you might have had a maiden name previously. So do enter that information here. Some countries do have national identity cards, for example China, so if you do have one of these, just click yes and then put the information in there. You also have your planned travel information. So this is the date you plan to arrive in the UK. Now do remember, if you're studying a course of 12 months or longer, you can only enter the UK 1 month prior to the course start date as indicated on your CAS. Now for this year, it may be the 10th of September for a lot of you, so you could only arrive at the earliest 10th of August. You cannot put a date earlier than that. If you're coming to study a course of 6 months or less, you can only enter the UK 7 days. So keep that in mind, look at the start date for your course on the CAS, and you can only enter the UK 1 month before that. You can obviously enter later, you could come on the 20th of August for example, but just put down the information there. And when it asks how long do you intend to stay in the UK, this again should be in line with the information on your CAS. So for a lot of our MSc courses, they start on the 10th of September 2018 and end on the 4th of October 2019. So that's how long you'll be there. So that's roughly 1 year, 1 month. Okay, so put that information in there. Now it does ask the next question, spoken language preference. So if they have to talk to you about your application, that's the Home Office, they say which language would you prefer to use. Do select English, because if you select another language, there may be questions about the reasons why you're coming to study a course in the UK if you cannot speak English. So it would be preferable to tick English, so when they do talk to you, the caseworker will be talking to you in English about your course and reasons for studying at Edinburgh Napier. This question is really saying, have you successfully completed a course of study in the UK previously as a Tier 4 child student? Just answer as required. And again, the next one, English language assessment. You should answer yes if you're coming to the UK to study at a higher education institution. Okay. And then the next question is about your English language ability and how it's been assessed. Your CAS will advise how we have assessed your application. So whatever we've put in the CAS, you'll put on there. So it may be that we've assessed that you're a gifted student, so you'd click yes, but if not, then click no. It may be an IELTS test, for example. Whatever the qualifications listed in your CAS, that's the information you will need to provide with your application. Now this is about people financially dependent on you, family information. The chances are you might not have anyone financially dependent on you. It depends, obviously, if you're already married, if you have a wife, children, etc. So do answer that question again as applicable. So it might be a child's spouse, then you answer yes, then you would have to provide more details in the next section. And that's even if they aren't accompanying you to the UK. You might wonder why they need this information. It's in the application, so unfortunately you do have to fill this in. If the dependents want to be in the UK with you, that will be those that are coming, those of you who will be studying a postgraduate course or above. As I said before, they will be required to apply separately and they won't be included in this application. So again, on the next screen, you'll just answer the questions as applicable. So again, relationship to your mother, father, etc., given names, just enter the information as requested. Then this one is actually about family who live in the UK. You may have family members who are living in the UK. It doesn't matter if they're living in England, for example in Birmingham, Manchester for example. It's just about family members who are living in the UK. Try and answer as accurately as you can. If you fail to provide information regarding a family member living in the UK, it might have a negative impact on your visa application. There's another question here, travelling as part of an organised group. It's unlikely that you'll be travelling as part of an organised group. It doesn't mean family members, so if you're travelling with your wife, for example, or husband and your children, that would not be regarded as an organised group. So it's likely to be no for this question. Travelling with another person. You may be travelling here with another person. Your parent might decide to come over with you just to help you settle in. So do answer again that question as applicable. And then if there is someone travelling with you, you will have to provide their details. Obviously if you're just travelling yourself, then just click no. Now this is about accommodation in the UK. They're going to ask you where you're going to be living in the UK. You might not have organised accommodation at this point. If you have, obviously just put down the details of the place you will be staying. It might be with a family member. It could be in our own university accommodation. So just provide the information you have. If you don't have any accommodation organised, then you can enter the university address, which is Edinburgh Napier University, 10 Collington Road, Edinburgh, Scotland, EH10 5DT. When asked where you're planning to stay in the UK, then enter the relevant city, so that's Edinburgh. Or if it's staying with family or friends, then their full names. If you answer no to this question, you will be asked to give as much detail as possible with regards to where you intend to stay. So again, with friends, family members, private housing, etc. So try and answer these questions as accurately as you can. Again, other accommodation in the UK, will you be staying anywhere else in the UK? It's unlikely to be a yes to that answer. After this section, they go into UK travel history. So it's just really asking how many times have you been to the UK in the last 10 years. Again, answer accordingly, 0, once, 2 to 5 times or more. If you answer 0, if you don't answer 0, you will be required to provide further information with regards to your visits. So it's information just about how long you were here, when, etc. And then also ask about whether you've been issued with a UK visa in the past 10 years. And that's not just a student visa, it could be a visit visa, it could be a dependent visa, maybe a work visa. So again, if you have been issued with a UK visa in the last 10 years, answer yes, and then they'll ask for further information about that visa. So when you're doing this application, if you have been to the UK on a visa before, make sure you have that information to hand when you're answering this, when you're completing this application. So again, there's further information about your travel history. This is about how many times you've visited the following countries. So again, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, USA, and the Schengen area. If you're not too sure what the Schengen area means, that's European countries. So there's 28 countries within the European Schengen area, and that's what they mean by that. So again, answer accordingly, and depending on your answer, you may have to answer further questions about your travel history. So, and then Another question about travel history is any other countries other than the USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Schengen or the UK. So again, it could be countries in Asia, Africa, etc. Again, answer those questions accordingly. Now the next section asks about any problems you've had with immigration to the UK. You really have to answer this as accurately as possible and as truthfully as possible. The Home Office obviously do keep a record of people who have been refused or had issues. So if you've applied for a visa before to the UK and you have been refused entry visa, or if you've been removed from the UK, refused entry to the UK border, etc., then please answer this question accurately and say yes if that's applicable to you. Again, they will then ask you further information on when you were refused, if there was a refusal, the dates, etc. So do answer this accurately. Obviously, if you've had no refusals or any problems, then do put no. The application also asks about problems with immigration to other countries other than the UK. Again, as with the previous question, make sure you answer that as accurately as possible. Don't lie about any of these questions. If you've had problems with the visa before, don't say no when you have. It should not affect your application if you answer yes. Just because you've had a visa refused for the UK previously wouldn't mean to say that you'll get a refusal again. Okay, it's better to answer that question truthfully. So again, this goes on to legal requirements, convictions and other penalties. So this again is questions about, well, it has to be a truthful answer. Again, questions about any criminal activity. Hopefully none of you have had any criminal activity, but if there have been any issues, again, put that down. Even simple things like disqualification for speeding, motor insurance issues, that kind of thing, cautions, warnings. Okay, so do answer again correctly with these questions. This section will then go on to ask other type of questions which might seem quite personal and not very nice questions, but again, as with other types of applications, you have to answer these questions truthfully. So it's all about various different things to answer correctly on the visa application. So there's things like terrorist activities. You may kind of laugh a little bit about why these questions are here. It's just something that has to be asked. So obviously, if you're not involved with terrorist activities, which hopefully, again, as I said, I'm sure you will not be, then answer no. Okay. If you inadvertently answer yes, then that could raise alarm bells. So do make sure you read this section carefully and go back over your answers to make sure you have answered no if that is the correct answer. Okay, so again, terrorist organisations, terrorist views. If this is no, make sure you click no. Go back over that afterwards to make sure you have clicked correctly. So after that section, it will then go on to questions about your previous employers. Okay, so this is a kind of new question that's come up in the Tier 4 application. So if you've been employed by one of these organisations, some countries you may have compulsory armed forces employment, so you may have to do military service. Put in yes for those questions. Again, government organisations, media, security, judiciary, which means, if you're not too sure what that means, that's legal kind of employment, so people that work as a lawyer, etc., solicitor. If you have not worked in any of these organisations before, then just obviously say, click the box that says I've not worked in any of the jobs listed above. The next section is about the sponsored licensing number and address for Edinburgh Napier University. This information will be on your CAS, but if you're not too sure, just enter the information exactly as we've shown you here on this slide. Okay. This now goes on to more about your course, accommodation payments. This is only about accommodation payments made to our own university private accommodation. So if you are staying in our halls of residence and you have paid some money towards the accommodation, then click yes there. You can only enter a maximum of £1,265. Okay, even if you paid more, you cannot put any more in there. Okay, but this money would be deducted from the maintenance that you're required to show. You would probably likely to be needing to show 9,135. If you have paid money towards our own residences, then you can deduct 1,265 from that 9,135, assuming you've paid that much. Okay, if you've paid accommodation for private money towards private accommodation provider that's not associated with the university, then you cannot say yes to this question. And then it goes on to the course fees. This information will be actually indicated on your CAS. Put the information there exactly as we've indicated. It may be that you've only paid £3,500, which is the deposit. If that's all you've paid, then put that money in that box there. If you've paid more, then obviously put that money in. If you have paid more fees after your CAS is issued, you should not put that information there because it should be as indicated on your CAS. We might be able to update your CAS if you pay more fees. If that's the case, then please contact our admissions team and they will then advise you accordingly. And then it asks about have your parents or legal guardians paid any of your course fees? Yes or no, and the amount that's been paid. And then ask how you can prove this amount. It's always going to be my sponsor has confirmed this information on my CAS. That's what we will put in there. We'll put in the information on the fees that have been paid and the fees that are still to be paid. Okay, so that's where you'll be clicking. We don't really have the receipts, so don't click on the receipts because we wouldn't be issuing you with any receipts. So further information about the university, place of study. We are a higher education institution, so click that. Primary site of study. This is going to depend on what course you are studying. Okay, if you're unsure, then do contact Visa and International Support. But on the right here, you will see the different campuses, the different schools we have. So it depends, as I said, on that course. Okay, so for example, any business-related courses, it will be our Craig Lockett campus. Health courses, Sight Hill campus, etc. Okay, as I said, if you're unsure, then do contact Visa and International Support. Now, if you're coming to study an undergraduate course, then you've probably more than likely applied to UCAS, so you should have a UCAS personal identification number. Just click yes there and put that number in here. Now, some courses will require an ATAS, Academic Technology Approval Scheme. You will have been advised already if you require this. It's unlikely we will have issued your CAS if you require the ATAS. So again, you'll have a reference number, so make sure you have got this ATAS to hand, and then you'll need to input that information before submitting your Tier 4 visa application. It can take up to 20 days or longer to get your ATAS number. Okay? Remember, you can apply for the ATAS as soon as you've received an unconditional offer from us. Now, further information here about your finances. It asks about any future official financial sponsor. So will you be receiving money from an official financial sponsor for your continuing studies? Now you may need to look at our Home Office guidance on what an official financial sponsor is. It won't be your uncle, for example. It's usually a company or an organisation, okay, or maybe your government. Okay, so again, click yes or no depending on your situation. Now, maintenance funds, this is a quite important section. This is about showing that you have enough money to cover your course fees and your living costs. Okay, you should already have information about that, but again, if you're unsure, then contact Visa and International Support. Now it says, are all of the maintenance funds required for this application in a bank account with your name on it? If you're using your own bank statement, then click yes. If you're being sponsored by an official sponsor, again, that would be yes. If you're receiving a loan, which is in line with the Home Office guidance, again, that's yes, as all these funds will be in your name. However, if you're using funds in your parents' or your legal guardian's name, then that would be no, because the bank statements you're submitting will be in your parents' name. Now, if you're a low-risk national, you may not know if you are or not. If you're unsure if you're a low-risk national, again, contact Visa and International Support. Then you won't actually have a requirement to show your financial documents with your visa application. However, you should still have the money in place because the Home Office can still request to see that information. Okay? If you're unsure of what funds you're required to show, then again, please email us and we will advise you. Course information, again, that should be as detailed on your CAS. Just put that information in exactly as it is, including the level of qualification. Again, the course start date and end date should match the information on your CAS. Okay, so just refer to your CAS for this section here. Now we come to additional information. You can use this free text box to add any additional information which might be relevant to your visa application. It's unlikely you'll need to put anything in here, but if you feel that there is information, then obviously you can put some information in that free text box. After you've done this, save and continue, then you'll come to be able to check your answers. Okay, so make sure you go through the full application, check all the answers you've given, make sure it's as accurate as possible. Okay. Once you've submitted your application online, you will not be able to make any changes. So do go through this section carefully, check everything, have your CAS to hand so you can check the information on there, your passport, etc. Just so you can have a look at all the answers and make sure you have answered these correctly. Now, this bit says documents showing the required maintenance funds. So you must provide the documents that you have used to show the money that you've got. So if it's in your parents' account, if it's a bank statement, then again type of document, statement from a personal bank. If it's just a letter from a bank, then click that. Okay. If you've used another financial document, you may have used two financial documents, then just click yes here, and again they'll provide information there as to what the additional document is. Okay. It may be that you've just got two bank statements, it might be a bank statement and a bank letter. As I said, just put the information in there as requested. This says, have your parents paid in money to sponsor for accommodation? That has been there before. Just put that information in. And then it comes to supporting documents. So this is near the end of the application. This will be telling you the mandatory documents that you need to provide with your application. If you don't provide any of these documents, then that could cause issues with your visa application. So again, go through this section carefully, check what documents you need to provide. So obviously there will be the passport, your statements if it's a bank statement or a bank letter, any qualifications listed in your CAS, you need to provide that here as well. Okay. Now some countries may require, if you're living in a certain country, you may be required to have a tuberculosis test. Again, you should probably know if you need to provide this or not. If so, then you need to provide that test there. Okay? Test certificate. If you are required to provide that and you don't, then your application will probably be refused. Okay? So, again, a review before you submit your application. So again, check your answers, maintenance, documents, etc. You do have the opportunity to review your answers at this stage again. Again, make any changes if required. As I said, because once you've submitted, you will not be able to go back and change it. Then we come to declaration. Just say that you accept the above if you've confirmed that all your answers are correct. So do that. Click the green button there. And then you'll come to the healthcare, the immigration health surcharge. That's a requirement as part of the application. Just again go down to continue, and then there'll be a summary here. Anything highlighted in red on your screen should be added by you, so it's things about adding where you plan to stay. So if there is a question about staying in the Isle of Man, Jersey or Guernsey, you won't be living there because you'll be up in Edinburgh. And then adding your course start date and course end date, and that determines how much you have to pay for your immigration health surcharge. Once you've confirmed all your answers, you will be taken to a summary. Make sure you check all information, is correct. Again, if not, make any changes, because this will determine how much you have to pay for your immigration health surcharge. Again, you'll come to a declaration. If you confirm that everything's correct, just say I agree. You'll then come to a payment summary. Once you've made your payment, this will be the amount you're required to pay for your immigration health surcharge. You'll pay that with a credit or debit card, and then you'll come up with a next page which will say complete, and then your IHS reference number is. You can take a note of this if you want. You should be emailed it, but it will be part of the application. So the Home Office won't actually ask you for that reference number. It will be part of the online application anyway. So once your payment has been processed, you will receive a confirmation like this, as I said, with your IHS number. As I said, it's attached to your visa application, and you will receive that email with the information. But do keep this in a safe place, just to confirm that you have paid it, just in case the Home Office did come back and say you haven't paid it. If you've got the confirmation email, just keep that in a safe place in your email folders. Now, once your visa is granted, if you are coming to the UK for more than 6 months, you'll receive a 30-day vignette sticker in your passport, and then on arrival to the UK, you'll be required to collect your BRP from the post office as indicated on your visa approval letter as soon as possible, and that BRP will be your full visa. And part of the application, you'll be able to choose how you want to process your application. It could be a standard service. Home Office say you should get a decision within 15 working days. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but that's their standard processing time. There is a priority service, which is within 5 working days, or the super priority service, which should be within 24 hours. Depending on when you submit your application, you might have to go for the priority or super priority service if you're getting close to our latest enrolment date. Okay, so just have a think about when you're applying. If you're applying in plenty of time, then you could probably just go for the standard service, which obviously is a bit cheaper. Once you've chosen the service you wish to use, you'll then need to select the application centre you wish to attend and book the suitable date for your appointment. And that will be the end of your application. Once you've done this, it's then sitting back and waiting for a response from the Home Office. And hopefully, if everything's been entered correctly, you will get a positive decision. So thanks for listening to this presentation. As we said at the start, if you have got any questions now, there will be people on hand, myself and my colleagues, to answer any questions you have regarding the presentation. If you do have questions about anything else, then I'm sure we can answer that too. Okay. Remember as well, we do have our Tier 4 visa guide, which may have been issued to you already. You can obviously open that up when you're doing this information, doing the application. And then our contact details are down there as well. Okay. So thanks very much for listening, and as I said, if you've got any questions, please go ahead and ask them now. Thank you.